Yesterday at Springwater we had a discussion period. And one question which was brought up, I will try to rephrase here, rephrasing it since I do not remember it verbatim. The question was something like this. When new people come to you or come to one and ask, "What are you doing?" referring to this work that we're doing, what do you say? What do you tell them? This person happens not to live in Rochester, but at least 4 hours drive away in another country. And she also remarked, if I remember correctly, there seem to be new words being used, and old things dropped, new things adopted, and one becomes very unsure of what to say. Sometimes I feel tongue-tied. This tongue-tiedness also referring to the fact that it is so hard to put words on something. That one doesn't quite know how to express. And there was a real desire to find out what do we say to new people? Somehow or other, the whole question didn't come off the ground and has occupied the mind. So I think it would be good if we would all look at this question here, because this may concern each one of us in a maybe just superficial way or very deeply. Because how can one say what one is doing unless one really understands what one is doing? And is it understandable? Actually, at the very beginning, if somebody approaches one and asks a question, "What are you doing there?" whether sitting or going to retreat, can there be listening to how the question is asked? I don't mean suspiciously listening, but listening carefully. Is the person who is asking this question really interested in hearing something? Or is it sort of a cocktail kind of encounter? A cocktail question, where no sooner has it been asked that the mind is already on to something else? And there is no listening. Usually, if a person is genuinely interested, that interest and the space that comes with it conveys itself, and then the tongue-tiedness can abate. Words do come. Or do they? So where is oneself coming from when a question like this is asked? Oh, where is one? Is one trying to impress somebody? Is this an opportunity to impress? Or is one afraid that one may be put into a certain category of people if one answers in a certain way and doesn't want to be looked at in this way? Doesn't want to be categorized, one is afraid of that. And these shifting concerns would definitely influence how one's capacity to answer. If one is afraid of what the other person will think of one, or is trying to impress someone else, there's no clarity to look. To look in the light of the question, what comes up. And here, there is this difficulty. I don't know if this is what the person was asking. Give us something, give us a line, or some new words, or some summary that we could pass on to someone who's interested or who seems interested in this. If one provides this summary, then if one is asked this question of what are you doing, does one then refer to the memory of what has been passed on to one from the headquarters, in quotation marks? Then that's no real discussion, is it? Oneself is out of it. It's just passing on what has been memorized to someone else. And yet it seems so much easier, so much less complicated to pass on words. To really look, take the time and energy to look is much more arduous. And it cannot happen unless the listening space is there among or between both people. As to feeling tongue-tied, because old words have dropped or old traditions have dropped and one doesn't know what is the latest. Is that necessary? After all, one is being asked, what are you doing? And no one else can answer for oneself. That would be just mouthing, repetition. So, if one wants to communicate with another person, one has to look. Why is one doing this work? What is it? Today, a person came to see me from another city. He's come about 3 times in the last 2 years. And he said it took me 4 years to find out that all I was into was striving for a goal. And at last, I'm seeing it. I've been sitting because I wanted something. And I come here too, I realize, because I want something of you. When one realizes it, how does one realize it? How does one see that fact? Does one quickly pass judgment over it? Say, I shouldn't be striving. I understand this is not the thing anymore to do. Or can one look while sitting at this whole momentum of striving, trying to get something for oneself? Which is always a momentum, a movement away from what is there. And is that worthwhile investigating, what is actually there and what seems to give the impetus to move away toward something promised, glowing, gratifying, enlightening? I don't know why people sit. But if someone comes and opens up the question, we can look at it. Together or alone. Is one sitting because one cherishes quiet and has found a way of reaching that quiet through some technique or other? There's plenty of reason to cherish quiet and the hecticness of our daily life, the incredible noise and pressure, difficulty of human relationship, difficulty or often impossibility of human relationship, the conflicts, the fears as one looks at the news, opens a newspaper, what is happening throughout the world, and an intense desire to get away from it all and find peace and quiet. Is that what one is doing? That wouldn't be so hard to describe to someone. Or does the difficulty come in that one isn't quite sure whether this is what one is supposed to be doing? Was this person asking, in fact, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing, could you tell me? after talking for many years about what have been our many motives for sitting, goals of enlightenment, desire to fit into a group, to please a teacher, to gain merits. And after questioning all of this and casting grave doubt on all of this, one may not feel like sitting at all anymore. So what has happened to many people? With the outer motives gone, the outer incentives and the encouragement that goes with incentives, encouragement given and encouragement derived through thinking, the energy that goes with it, when all of that is removed, one may realize that one has no reason for sitting down. Or does one wonder what is left when all these outer motives and incentives and goals and encouragements, stimulations, inspirations are gone? Is there anything left? That would be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? To start from scratch, as it were. To see what's left when all of that is gone. What is a human being without all of the goading and pushing and compelling and attracting? And to face this empty hole that's left, and the fear that goes with it, and the sprouting desires to fill it again with something again, to find a new realm of inspiration somewhere else. Can that be watched, or is one entangled immediately? Then there's no observation, no attention, because entangled we take for real what is just the influence of thought and fantasy on our whole mental, physical energy system. I remember first working at a Zen center where much talk was about the doubt mass, that one could not, that sitting would make no sense unless there was a doubt mass. And just beginning to give what was then called doksan, interviews with people, I was amazed how many people were asking, what is this doubt mass? Could you explain this? Or maybe help a little bit create it? Same thing we've just been talking about. Wanting to receive a question from someone else, a doubt, so that one would have what it says it takes to do this thing. What was usually asked was, doesn't one just look around, inside and out, how one lives, within and with each other? What more is needed to raise questions? Raise questions about how a human being lives so completely governed by reactions, instantaneous reactions to almost anything, and almost helpless, powerless in the face of this automatic pouring out of reactions for this, against this. It's a real straitjacket in which we live, needing to react positively or negatively, angrily, fearfully, whenever something arises in relationship or within. Is that worthy of investigating? Why there are these instantaneous reactions every moment of the day almost? And can one, in beginning to observe this, see what a straitjacket it is? How one is totally caught up and enclosed in that? One may think that these reactions are free thinking, but on looking carefully, it's out before one has thought or looked. It is the response of thought to all of our conditioned habits, past experiences, tastes. Oh. Just the other day, a few of us saw a movie together. Maybe many of you have seen it. I'd heard a lot about it, so it is not the latest. The title was Killing Fields. And it was about the most realistic documentary that I've ever seen. Of human beings' inhumanity to human beings. The locality happened to be Cambodia, but in watching what was portrayed, there was a timeless quality of this having happened endlessly before and maybe happening into the endless future. And one really deeply wondered what was one's response to all this. To this unfathomable violence and brutality that human beings have inflicted upon each other and endured maybe as long as we've been around. What is one's response to that? Is that something out there? One can't say that anymore. It's not far away. One could brush it aside as something primitive, oriental, uncivilized, yet one of the most civilized, so-called civilized countries in the world, had the same trenches of corpses. Evidence of human beings' inhumanity. To each other, to ourselves. We're doing this to ourselves. What is our response to this? Where does this come from? Is this something that I'm contributing to? I have to ask that question. The movie showed a reporter, actually two reporters, a Westerner and an Easterner. Western reporter of the New York Times, and all the ambition to get a story, all-consuming ambition to be the first one on the scene to get the story, and yet all of this clothed in, as it seemed, an unconscious or unaware feeling of that one was doing something for humanity with this. One was going to help these wretched people by getting this story. This is how we operate. We kid ourselves. Our ambitions to get there first, to get famous or be admired for our courage is often clothed in the desire to help. And we believe it because we don't want to look at ourselves. Or do we? Do we want to find out whether there is some relationship, some intimate relationship between what is going on in the world and what is going on directly observable and discoverable within ourselves? Is one contributing to the stream of violence that flows through all humanity? A stream of violence and the stream of ensuing suffering flowing through all of us. Is it possible to question whether this is so? Not to take somebody's word for it, but to observe when anger comes up, rage about injustice done to one by someone else. Our instantaneous reactions which goes so deep, to such a deep, deep level. Because one could say, well, what's the use of doing it? It's too depressing. I don't see any usefulness in this. Does one do this work of questioning and looking into oneself, hoping that it will be useful, or to discover what is actually there? Or will one move with all the escapes and masquerades that we have invented? The question was, what is this work that we're actually doing? And I'm wondering what it is for each one of us. One may say we're questioning into human nature. What does it mean? What does questioning mean? If one already knows what human nature is, or what, let's just stay with that. If one knows what human nature is, one will not question it. One will take it for granted and pass it by, and keep reacting according to one's habits and pleasures and avoidance of pain. Questioning, the way I see it, starts from not knowing, and therefore a completely new openness toward anything that is discovered to happen. Not to take anything for granted, but to wonder about it. To observe it with a mind that is not caught up in instantaneous reaction for or against what is being observed. Or if this reaction takes place, can it too be seen to distort immediately any kind of free observation? One cannot observe if one is already prejudiced, for or against. And how far will one go in questioning? sometimes in meetings, someone will bring up something and listening to it and then asking questions. We can go further. We can go all the way to unearth this thing, to bring it to light, to look at it. But very often, there is a resistance. A resistance to looking any further. Something is threatened. Something feels threatened. And one may even not come back to a meeting, finding all kinds of reasons. I'm not saying that questioning has to happen in meeting, but it is very often in the mutuality of looking and discussing that things are revealed. Someone asks a question. What is the reaction? One of, opening, looking, wondering, or instantaneous defense and closing up. So is one willing to face threat and fear and the anxiety of loss of self-image? This is what this work is all about. And how can one explain that unless one is doing it? Will one just go so far and then stay with what? Some kind of a realm of self-security. Attachment. Or will one question everything, not knowing what the outcome will be? Not knowing whether there will be security in attachment, or whether this will dissolve. Up to a point, it's fun to discuss, reveal one's feelings, and understand the other person's feelings, and revel in this mutual understanding of feelings. But is one questioning who it is that is enjoying or fearing? Where the feelings are coming from? What's the source of all of this? Fear, pain, anger, need for security. Really go to the very bottom of it. No one can do it for us. We can try to do it together. But it can't be done for one. Is this what the work is all about? How far will one go? How free is one to really inquire? No strings attached anywhere. Because where the string is attached, there's the blind spot. That one will not investigate. That is sacred realm, a sacred cow, where the string is attached. And the attachment always comes from this deeply rooted, so solid and real appearing sense of a separate self, with all its gratifications, its pleasures, its fulfillments. Will one question that? Without just making a phrase out of it. The phrase is not the doing of it. The doing of it is to see it in action as we relate to each other, as we're hurt or flattered, slighted, offended, or being made up to, rejected, or approved of. All of these turns, the self reveals itself, self-image reveals itself in the hurt or in the good feelings. Can that be seen? And then who is the seer? Is there a seer separate from what is seen? There is, if there is condemnation or rationalization, justification. So I think one can see it is not easy to say in a few words what one is doing. If somebody asks and is interested, one has to take time to explore this together. A summary of words is not the work. What is this openness of mind? In which there's no hiding place for anything.